this is me, Craig Ferguson. I'm inviting you to come and see my brand new comedy hour. Well, it's about an hour and a half, and I don't have an opener because these guys cost money. But what I'm saying is I'll be on stage for a while. Anyway, come and see me live on the Pants on Fire tour in your region. Tickets are on sale now, and we'll be adding more as the tour continues throughout 2025 and beyond. For a full list of dates, go to thecraigfergusonshow.com. See you on the road, my dears. My name is Craig Ferguson. The name of this podcast is Joy. I talk to interesting people about what brings them happiness. Welcome to the Kid Super Studios here in Brooklyn, New York. I am here in the tent, and I am Craig Ferguson, and I am the host today of the Joy podcast. Every time there's a Joy podcast, I'm the host, but I'm the host today, so that counts. My guest today has not taken shit from every politician he's interviewed, which I think is quite a pedigree. He's a great comic and a great interviewer, and he's here, and his name is Hasan Minhaj. Enjoy. We were talking about how at a certain point in the day, I have to move to decaf because I can't get up all night peeing. This is all in front of you, man. I'm from the future. And
where are we going? What's happening?
Well, in the future, when you're my age, you'll have to get up and pee like 2-3 times a night, even if you don't have coffee.
3.
Well, maybe not 3. What are you, a doctor? You're a cop? What's going on?
Yeah, my mother is. My mother's a physician.
Your mother's a doctor?
She's a physician.
Oh, that's right.
She's a physician.
No, here's the thing. I was going to say to you, because we were talking about this beforehand.
What's up?
Right. So your parents were immigrants.
Yes.
Right? And I'm an immigrant. And so my kids are in the same position you are. They kind of get a little frustrated with my kind of gung-ho, rah-rah America stuff. Because I don't know if your parents are the same. But I'm like, if someone converts to Catholicism, they feel like they should be a little more Catholic than people who are just like grown up Catholic. I'm kind of like that. Yeah. And I think a lot of immigrants are like that.
Yeah, there's with the first generation, we're here.
We're here. We made it here. Yeah. And now it's going to be fine.
Yeah. Look at this. It's Grand Central Station.
Yeah. Crushed ice. Right. A root beer with crushed ice. Unbelievable.
And then the kids are like, there's a guy pissing right here.
Yeah. There's guys pissing everywhere. But look at this.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing because I wonder if I'm putting into my kids' heads that in order for them to rebel against me, they have to rebel against because of course it's their duty as the next generation to rebel against whatever morals and values and mores that I have. Do you find that? Do you think you did that with your own parents, or is it?
We're starting this hot?
Well, why not? I mean, we could do that, or we could look at it, the idea, because the culture that your parents come from is Indian culture. So it might be you rebel against that, or...
Yeah. Okay, so I think really what if I'm going to zoom out philosophically, what actually happened was...
That's very good.
Yeah. Let's zoom it out.
Yeah.
Let's
philosophily as well. I'm very happy about that.
Let's pull out on the camcorder.
A comedian who's a philosopher is my favorite type of comedian.
God, let's not do this.
Okay, sorry. All right, go ahead. Zoom out philosophy.
All right. I think the big split was they came here. My dad got here in 1982. I think he had a vision, and certainly America was a particular way. And by the time I came of age to live in that America, it changed.
Yeah.
So I think when he came, they were running MS-DOS as the operating system. And now it's fucking JavaScript and Python. And it's all sorts of, it just changed.
Right.
And so what I really was rebelling against to some capacity was, I think they had a very fixed understanding of what this country is and can be and what it can provide.
I think that's a generational thing.
I think it's just a generational thing.
For everything. Yeah. I mean, that happens. I mean, I have...
And I don't blame them for this. Who am I to... Yeah.
I mean, it'll happen to you too. You have kids.
Absolutely.
But your kids are young. And, and as they grow up...
But I got 7... I have a 7-year-old, I have a 5-year-old. I can already feel it.
Yeah, it does happen.
So I don't know if you have this with the restaurant QR code. You sit down at a restaurant,
right?
And you go, "Hey, can I get a menu, please?" And they go, "Well, just scan the QR code."
Yeah, I mean,
and I'll just start.
Welcome to my fucking world.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I get angry, like, what?
Yeah.
Would you like a receipt? Yes, I would.
Yes, I would.
Would you like my address? Or when the
cut down a tree and give me a piece of papyrus.
Give me a piece of
to
papyrus
prove that I had that I'm about to purchase something,
or
I did purchase something.
I still get angry at the Starbucks people when they ask me for a name. I'm like, I want a coffee. We're not friends. And it's like, do we have a name for the coffee? No, we don't. Coffee is the name for the coffee. And I feel like I'm slowly losing my grip on the world.
You're losing the plot a little bit.
A little bit. I still like vinyl.
Yeah. Well, my thing is that I didn't opt in. Mr. Thai restaurant, I didn't opt in for the QR code.
Right.
I came to have lunch with you.
Right.
Not to have you and me be on our phone.
Right. And
in
also
this moment,
the data grab that they're taking, all of your stuff, and
and they go, just pay on your phone. I go, please don't make me do this.
Well, I think that's great though, because that you're embracing the crankiness pretty young. Pretty young, but that's good.
Yeah.
Roll into it, make it part of your life. But of course, that kind of dissatisfaction and borderline misandry, I think, is that's what makes a comedian though, isn't it?
Yes, we are very good at complaining.
Yeah.
It really is. We're just complainers, is what we are.
Humorous complainers.
Complainers. So when people say we're philosophers, like we're not actually providing any solutions, really. We're actually just very good cranks.
Well, here's the thing, though. I would dispute with you that philosophers of any stripe have provided any solutions anyway.
That's true. Maybe they clarified. Yeah. They clarified,
Even then, I don't know. I mean, like this is me being contrarian because it's But the idea of like Socrates saying, "Now look, any philosophy I know is, forgive me, is Western philosophy. You may know more about
Sure, Eastern philosophy.
Yeah. So, but Socrates certainly like knowing the right questions to ask. I'm like, well, I don't know if that's enough, is it? But apparently it was. And then. Here's the thing I was thinking about Socrates recently in cancel culture.
Okay.
So I have this theory, like, when Athens was popping off 500 BCE, all these philosophers were there. And I feel like it was like gigs. I think it was like the Comedy Cellar.
Oh.
People would go, are you going to see Socrates?
Yeah. He's working on 15.
Right. He's doing a 15-minute set at the Athenon or something.
Right.
And I feel like it was probably like that. It was like entertaining for people.
Sure.
And
doing the Parthenon was a theater gig.
That's right. The Parthenon was
the Beacon. You got to get.
It's the Beacon, or maybe it's the Garden.
Maybe it's the Garden, right? Yeah.
But there's the cellar where you work out your little bit of philosophy before you go in. And I feel like that happened a lot throughout the years of human history. I think that, like, here's I pitched this as an idea to you, that even. Like, now my background is in Christianity, yours is in Islam, right? But when we were getting taught about Jesus and they would say things Jesus had said, I'd be like, really? That's not really that great a thing to say. But my guess is his delivery was great. And then, I'm guessing saying like when Jesus said in ancient Aramaic or whatever language he said, getting through the eye of a rich man getting into heaven is like a camel getting through the eye of a needle. I bet delivered correctly. In the right language, that's probably a great joke.
Got it. Yeah. He's definitely probably amazing mic technique, great at an act out.
Right, and projecting. I mean, but no microphones.
Yeah.
5,000 people, no microphones. Let's see that.
Yeah.
Mr. Daily Show, let's see that.
Right.
Is your background very secular, or were you brought up quite...
I was brought up quite religious.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
So, because I know next to nothing about Islam.
Really?
Really, honestly.
For me though, honestly, I felt from a young age my Bluetooth was on.
Really?
Yeah, I did feel there's got to be something more than what I'm seeing here.
Sure.
And surely what's happening right here, this doesn't make a lot of sense for me either.
Right.
So in a weird way, the unseen made more sense to me than what I was seeing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course.
I know it sounds a little weird.
No, it doesn't. Not to me, which should worry you more. But
yeah.
But I think that makes sense to me. I think the idea of seeking some kind of, I mean, it started for me young as well. There's got to be more to it than this. Honestly, I think for me, when I was a really little kid, I think America represented that. I wonder, that it was a place where, that there was more going on.
Just possibility.
Possibility and the fact that they would, you got to remember, like I grew up in Scotland in the 1960s,
Right.
While America was going to the moon. I mean,
oh, interesting.
Right. We weren't getting a lot of information about the civil rights marches and stuff, but we got a lot of TV about going to the moon, and I was like, oh my God.
So for you, did you at a young age you felt I gotta go there?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, it was a thing.
Just all the cool stuff
everything cool was American, and like I am totally a product of American cultural imperialism, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
I am Coca-Cola branded Ford Motors victim of advertising. And I'm happy to be it, but that's definitely what I am. And it's when when I project this onto my children, they're less. I'm not saying they're anti-American or anything like that, but they're less enamored by the things I'm enamored by.
The shiny stuff that was really
I was taken in by a lot, and I still am. Taken in by. I like it.
Is it weird do your kids ever go, we should look at Europe, look how beautiful, and you go, that fucking old place?
Yeah.
Because Americans have the opposite. They love I call them the Instagram countries.
Yeah.
Paris is an Instagram country.
Scotland
is an Instagram. Yeah. So those countries to me, they're just they're like whisper castle Instagram countries.
Right.
Lady Margaret, no, Lady Margaret, you must, like, they're just old period pieces, and you go there with your boyfriend or girlfriend and take an Instagram photo.
It's almost like my wife says this about rednecks in America as well. She says, like, posh people in Britain have the same names as American rednecks. When you say, Benedict Cumberbatch as Lord.
Sure.
Yeah. And then you see that same name in America, like Benedict Cumberbatch. It's like, hey, Benedict. It's like they're the same people. The hyphenated name thing in Britain, very posh. In America, outdoor trampoline.
Yeah.
It's kind of a thing.
That's a great bit.
I think I might work it up.
All right, work it out.
Now, you and I are part of a fairly exclusive club.
Okay, talk to me.
White House Correspondents.
Ooh.
You did it when?
2017. Trump's first year presidency.
Well, he wasn't there, though.
He wasn't there, of course. He didn't show up,
Yeah, does he go to any of them?
Yeah, no, he went to the year Seth Meyers did it. He attended as a guest.
Right.
But he didn't.
I think he was there the year I did it, but that was 2008.
He was a guest. He just showed up.
I think he was there. I'm not sure, but...
Okay.
But... He wasn't. I didn't reference him in the act.
Famously bad room, right? Or did you feel
it's
like the
room? Worst.
Yeah.
Did the sound system work for you?
No, it's just as shitty as you would imagine.
I feel like they could get it better than that.
I mean, you are at a Hilton in Washington, D.C.
And it feels like it, right?
Totally, yeah.
The sound system was awful. I don't know if you know this about me, but I have an accent, apparently.
Sure. Yeah.
Which, that was a little tricky too. I mean, it went okay.
Yeah.
But I felt like it was like a dream.
It did feel like a dream.
Seeing famous people out there, but in weird kind of...
Yeah, because what you're seeing is you're like, there's Wolf Blitzer,
right?
And there's a man named Wolf Blitzer, which is a very funny thing.
That's right. There's a man named Wolf.
There's a man named Wolf,
and everyone doesn't have a problem with it.
And he kind of does look like a wolf.
A little bit. Yeah, and he eats raw meat.
Yeah.
He does.
He does, really? Okay.
Maybe.
Or maybe he does.
Yeah.
Who knows? We can't confirm or deny. But they'll be like Wolf Blitzer, and then they'll be like the cast of Grey's Anatomy. So it's just like, you know what I mean? It's this weird, or it'll be like this person played president on TV, and then
there's the real president.
The actual chief of staff for the president is here. It's a very strange.
Who were the big politicians there when you were there?
Well, he famously did not want anyone from the administration to be there.
Oh.
So then there were just other members of Congress. So it became this whole like kind of flashpoint. Who will show up, who will not show up.
Right. So it became a politicized thing.
Right. But to me, I thought, that's just great comedy fodder.
It kind of is. Because it's conflict.
Because it's all just tension.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know if you chatted with Colbert or Seth Meyers, like a couple of the people who had done it before I had talked to.
Yeah, I did.
And they told me the room fucking sucks.
It does fucking suck. I didn't talk to Stephen or Seth about it.
Yeah.
I talked to Drew Carey and Jay Leno about it. But,
great.
That's a generational thing.
Yeah.
It's like these guys had done it before me.
Yeah, they'd done it before.
Yeah.
And
it is bad, but...
But actually, and you know this, once you know, because it's all about expectation. Once you know... All right, so what is the gig? So they go, look, it's a casino gig. And
Yeah.
you're like, okay, I know
That's
what this
exactly
is. I know
what it
what
is.
this is.
Yeah.
So when they all told me, look, it's you are doing a hotel ballroom gig. You've done a wedding here. You've done a set at a bar mitzvah. You know what this is.
Yeah, you do.
And so that was the first note that leveled my expectation. Then the second thing that Stephen told me, which was, you're going to bomb in the room, but play to camera one. You're playing to everyone at home. And that was my whole unlock.
Yeah. Did you bomb in the room? I don't think you bombed.
I think I did okay. But when I worked it out at the Cellar, it certainly wasn't that.
Right. But the Cellar is like maybe the greatest
Yeah.
comedic venue on earth.
Right.
I mean,
Right. But I'm working it out at the Cellar, but I'm also doing these like very deep cut references. You know,
Right.
So-and-so
That would be tricky,
from
yeah.
MSNBC is here. And like the 10 o'clock crowd's like, what the fuck are you talking? Are you really making a joke about, you know,
Yeah.
the 10 p.m. anchor on CNN, you know, but yeah, I'm making a Don Lemon joke right now,
Right.
you know? And so anyways, once I kind of leveled that, I just knew, and you know this from late night, just play to camera one,
Sure.
kind of play to the room a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's for everybody at home.
Yeah,
And then just
so.
and
I
kind
mean,
of stand in it. you know?
who did you run into? Who produced your? I'm going to say late night show because that's kind of I feel like
Sure,
It was like because for me, getting the right producer for these things is like if you get it wrong, you're never going to do it.
Yeah, it's never going to work.
It's never going to work.
I'm lucky, man. I found early on when I was doing open mics and
Right.
stuff, I found a really great comedian friend of mine named Prashant Venkataramanajam. He became kind of a co-writer, co-producer. We would
Right.
do shit together. And at the time, I didn't know that would be kind of like my future collaborator, but we really were like two musicians working together.
That's great.
And it was, so he knew my voice. He also knew how to kind of control me editorially. He knew what,
Yeah.
you know, he's going off the rails a little bit, but let him. And then, all right, we'll get to the idea here. He also helped me clarify a lot. Hey, what are you trying to say here?
Right. I had a great producer as well. I had a guy, Peter LaSalle, who was my guy. And Peter used to say to me, especially about jokes, he'd say, is it worth it? You know?
Oh, interesting.
And I would, you know, some days it was worth it. You know, some days it was worth, you know, there was going to be trouble. But the joke was worth it. And some days you'd go, you know, this joke, it's okay.
Is it true you just used bullet points for your monologue? Is it true?
Yeah,
That's incredible.
That way. It got that way. I mean, what happened was it was a process. You know this, is like you turn up and there's everybody from the corporate is there and they want it to be a certain way, and you have long conversations about the set, like anyone gives a fuck.
Right.
Although this is the nicest set, I think.
This
is amazing.
But this is the exception. This is not the rule.
This is true. And actually, and no one ever talked to me about this set. I just turned up and I was like, this is great. Anyway, you have these long conversations with corporate about set, and then they would write, because I was doing a broadcast late night show.
Yeah.
And nobody knew who I was. You know, I was just like, I had won it was like I won a competition. I came in and they had all these writers who were like, you know, had all but like cigars and little kind of visors on typewriters. And they would write me jokes like, hey, you guys see the playoffs? And like, I didn't even know what the fucking playoffs were. I don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
But I would walk out and I'd do this with my tie and I'd go, hey, do you guys see the playoffs? And everyone's like, the fuck are you, you're not connecting with this.
Yeah.
And I would make fun of me doing that. And the me making fun of me trying to be a late night host became the show. Yes. But I think that with these shows, and I think it's what these.
But did you know there was two things? I just got to tell you this because we're finally getting a chance to hang in real life. There was two things that I think you did that were so amazing that I think I didn't realize were brilliant tools that you should always keep no matter what. Number one thing that I love that you did, which is you subverted all expectation by acknowledging that nobody knew who the fuck you were and where you were at night. It's 12:35 a.m. You know, you acknowledged.
My wife didn't even know there was a show after Letterman. She didn't even know.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I got the show after Letterman.
Yeah,
I didn't know there was one.
But actually playing low status is the thing. That is the most countercultural thing you can do. Yeah. So when people go like comedians or rock stars, I go, no, we've lost. Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that right now. It's actually one of the worst things you can do.
It's setting yourself up for some problems.
Yeah. There's a lot of problems. So that was number one. And then number two that I realized was so brilliant is just meet the moment where it is. And so even you doing little things where you would come up to the camera and like tap the lens, and you're just fucking with the form to let people know, hey, I'm a person. I'm really here. I'm in a studio. That joke didn't work, or hey, are you home? Like all of that, breaking the form gave you this real liberation, which was super inspiring for me.
I thank you. And I think
and I try to remind myself still to this day that both you and there's this other comedian that you should, I don't know if you've met, Rory Scovel.
Oh, I know exactly who you're talking about. He's a great comic.
Yes, and he's a brilliant comic.
Yes, he is.
And he is a reminder of this is a live art form. You know this, right?
Yeah.
We're actually just performing live on stage. So perform live and be aware of, okay, this is a wooden table and we're in this.
I think that's why it draws
tent,
so many troubled people, because it actually, and when you ever read these surveys and say the thing people are most frightened of is public speaking, I'm like, then I have no idea what that must be like, because I would sleep on a stage. The most comfortable I get is getting up on a stage and going, no, everything's all right. That, or, at home, under a blanket. These are the two happy places.
Oh, those are your two modes.
That's it. It's at home under a blanket or that. Because I think that, you know what the rules are. At least I do.
Yeah.
It's like, be funny.
Right.
Or it's over. Did you, when you started out?
What a weird survival mechanism, though, isn't it?
It is a weird thing.
Isn't this weird that we
we
still have this need to do it? Before we started recording, we were talking about how the pandemic, I realized not being able to do comedy, I thought it was my only discernible skill set and ability to make money. That's what I thought. Okay, I have to do this because I got fired from every other job that I've had in my life. So you better be good at this.
Right.
But I actually, because of the pandemic and not being able to perform during the pandemic, I actually need it for my own sanity.
Yeah.
And I think I'm actually going to do this until I die.
Yeah.
For better or for worse.
That's when you're a real comic. There was a time, I think probably it still exists a little bit, but there was a time certainly in like the 80s and 90s when people were only comedians to get a sitcom. A lot of people, there was a huge comedy boom, like now,
right,
in the 1980s.
You had your Drew Carey moment.
Right, exactly all that. But
yeah.
Drew was one of those guys. I mean, Drew's a stand-up, but once he got his show, that was his thing, was to get the Drew Carey show.
Yeah.
He's a good stand-up. He's actually a really good stand-up.
Really funny,
but I don't think he really does it anymore.
Right.
Like, I can't envisage a life where people still say to me now, like, well, you still do stand-up? Like, it's like going to Eric Clapton. You still play the guitar? What?
Yeah.
What's wrong with you? You can have your own orchestra. Like, but I play the guitar. That's what I do,
But it's also like, and I didn't realize this, and I don't know if it was like this in the 90s, but showbiz, and I think this is as old as time, is such a fickle, not real thing.
Yeah.
And so to me, I've been now doing it 20 years. Stand-up to me is the cheat code to everything.
Yeah.
It's the only thing I feel in control of, minus the pandemic where it was taken away.
That was everybody. Yeah.
But it's the only thing that I go, I'm telling you I can do this.
Let me tell you a true story.
Yeah.
When I got, I was doing the Drew Carey show. So I did that until the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And when I got the late night show, from doing some kind of thing, I hadn't done stand-up for about 10 years. I'd been doing independent movies. I'd been doing, things, and, you
just didn't have the time to do it, or you didn't want to?
I just kind of moved away from it.
Mm.
Maybe I just didn't, it's not that I didn't need it. I didn't think about it.
Oh, interesting.
And then, I was writing movies. I had a writing deal at Paramount, and I was writing movies, and I was making movies, and I was working in movies and TV.
Yeah.
And when I got the job in late night, I realized that CBS would, first of all, they owned me for everything. I couldn't make a television appearance or a movie appearance or anything without their permission.
Oh, wow.
That was part of the contract.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I knew they didn't own me for live performance. And I knew that if I screwed up, they'd cut my throat and dump me in the East River without really even thinking about it. It wouldn't be a thing.
Yeah.
But I knew that if I was going to have any autonomy, because I figured this show might make me more famous than I had been. If I was going to have any autonomy, I would have to go to stand-up. That was the only place where I would exist as me.
Yeah.
And that's when I went back into it again. When I got the late night show, I started doing, the Chuckle Huts and the Yuck Yucks and all that. back into it again.
On the weekends, you would do the...
Yep.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and I actually had people say to me, why are you doing this club? You have a TV show where the comedians in this club want to be on your TV show.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, but I need it. I need it. And, and actually at the time, I really did need it. I needed the money too. They weren't paying me anything. I was like,
Oh, shit.
Well, they pay you eventually, as you know. But when you start out, not so much.
Yeah.
It's But I wanted to talk to you about how you came to it, because you, correct me if I'm wrong, but my read of you is that you saw comedy that you liked, and that's what pulled you in.
Yes.
It wasn't just the kind of survival school ground bully thing. It was it was, you saw a comedian, you go, that's it. Was it Chris Rock? Was that it?
Chris was the one. And it was the, that's allowed. Oh, you can do that.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is like, at the time, I was bagging groceries at a grocery store chain called Safeway.
I know the store.
Okay, yeah.
I don't recall seeing you there,
depending on where I go. Well, it was the Safeway off Maze Boulevard.
Right.
The parent company's Vaughn's. But yeah, depending on where I go and I'm doing stand-up, I'll change it to Kroger's or Albertsons or whatever. But I was as a courtesy clerk at Safeway, which was very funny, by the way. They call it courtesy clerk. I'm just bagging. I'm bagging people.
Right. Courtesy Clark sounds pretty good. I like Courtesy Clark.
Yeah, sure.
And it sounds like a comic book character from the 1930s.
I'm in waste receptacle management. Oh, got it. All right, so you're garbage man.
You're garbage man, yeah.
Right. So I'm bagging groceries. But anyways, I did that, and then I was selling printers at Office Max, and if you worked in corporate America, if you've had any job in corporate America, there is this decorum that really is like jail. It really is like prison. And so it was a holdover of what I had to do in school, and kind of hi, how are you? There's, the niceties of life. And you can't talk back to a superior. That's your manager. You can't say, So I remember being in college, and this is where kind of Destiny and Kiss, all these things are meeting at the same time. High-speed internet and kind of Napster, LimeWire, illegal torrents of the internet. Now, other people would download things illegally. I would never do that, because downloading things, that's illegal, and that's stealing.
Right.
And I want you to know
I wouldn't do that.
And and that's a criminal offense.
That's right. We do not endorse that.
And we don't do that. Yeah.
The Kid Super Studio.
Never. And then on every DVD, when it says the FBI, we're watching. Hey, they're watching you. So don't you dare.
$250,000 fine. Apparently,
that's no joke.
5 years in jail. That's no joke.
Yeah, just for copying Mission Impossible 2. Yeah.
Have you seen it, by the way?
Not even that great.
Yeah.
So why? It's not worth the. It's not worth the fee.
I preferred Mission Impossible 1.
You did,
same. Yeah.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
So
you're bagging groceries.
I'm bagging groceries, and I'm in college, and a buddy of mine shows me Chris Rock's Never Scared. And
it's a great special.
It's a phenomenal special.
He's a great comic.
He's a great comic, but what he was talking about were all of the things that would get you either fired or sent to HR.
Mm-hmm.
Politics, war, George W. Bush, sex, relationships. These are all like just taboo things you cannot say.
Mm.
And man, he just was saying it. And I go, that to me is what I want to do that. I feel all those things.
Mm-hmm.
I say all those things with my friends. I want to do that. I got to do that. How do I do that? And I just started Googling. I went on google.com. How do you become
So how did you start? Did you go?
Literally started just going to open mics. Yeah. Open mic, at the Sacramento Punchline. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And just started there.
So what's your first open mic like? I mean, because
yeah. So
how long did you do?
You only get to do 3 minutes or 5 minutes.
That's crazy.
It's nothing.
It takes that long to say good evening.
Yeah. I had 3 jokes. I think the joke was I was living at home at the time, and this dates me. It was a joke about having landlines and like talking to a girl on the phone.
Right.
And then, I think the joke was something like, why are you breathing so heavy? And then it's like, you're a dad, hang up. So that's the crux of the joke.
That's a decent joke. Yeah. No.
I mean, I'm 18 years old, right? So it's like, so it was just dad breathes heavy, okay, Rebecca, he hangs up. So it was like a stupid joke, but I remember it kind of connected. And once you get that, that hit.
Do you know what's the weird thing? Do you remember the first time you died on stage?
Yeah, I mean, that was probably maybe the second or third set.
Yeah.
But so did your first set go good? The first one went good for me. I got just enough.
Yeah,
I got just enough of a hit.
Yeah, a little bit of the juice.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'll come back.
Yeah.
But you know what I think is weird is that because I remember the first time I died, which was spectacular.
Yeah.
And
I feel like you'd be great. You're very good at bombing.
oh, I'm fabulous at it. No one can be shit like me.
That's great. I love that.
But I remember how I mean, it was bad. Like the audience were chanting. It was
Shit.
Oh, it was a punk rock festival in London.
Oh, geez.
And I was going on between the bands. You ever had that thing when you go on and do some comedy between the bands? So I go on between, I don't know, the Spit Boys and the Hell Boys.
Have you had musician friends that ask you to do?
Oh, fucking Lars from Metallica said to me, "Hey, do you want to open for us?" I'm like, "Hey, you're out of your fucking mind."
Yeah, this is selfish.
Yeah.
You should tell Lars from Metallica.
How much do you hate me, Lars? What the fuck would you want me to do that for?
They're gonna love you.
Yeah, it'd be great.
They have no desire to see you.
You love me, Lars. Your fans hate me, and I'm not even there.
Yeah, Lars from Metallica asking you to do that. That's the destination wedding.
Yeah, that's right.
How dare you be this selfish?
Right. It's not going to happen. Anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm at the between the bands.
Yeah.
And I thought I'd be fun. I was a kid. I was about 18 as well.
Yeah.
I'm wearing a kilt because I thought that would be funny.
Amazing.
Yeah. But I was so frightened that my knees were
no.
shaking. And it was all these Cockney punks in the front row.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, his knees are knocking, his knees are knocking. And they started chanting, the whole audience were shouting it. His knees are knocking, his knees are knocking. Boo!
Yeah.
And all that. And I came off stage after, like, literally got booed off stage. And I remember it clear as a fucking bell.
Yeah.
I go backstage and I went, I got to do that again. I was like, I don't know what odd pathology exists.
Did you fight growing up? Were you a fighter? Did you ever get into fist fights?
Yeah.
Okay. So I've been in 2 or 3 fights, but I didn't know I was in the fight.
Right.
So I got hit by a friend. I go, hey, so I didn't know I was in the fight. But I have friends that were fighters that would actually fight and tussled with young men. And they told me the high of like you hit when you get hit and you're like, oh, whoa. And then you kind of, I've never felt that, but I have felt the rush of, anything could happen. And
well, that's the truth about any fight, whether it's a war between superpowers or two guys in a bar. Once it starts, and anyone who knows violence will tell you this.
Yeah.
Once it starts, you don't really know where it's going to go.
Right.
Yeah. People like to, say, well, we know where this is going to be over by Christmas.
Yeah.
Is it? Okay. Let's see how it's going to go.
Yeah.
And I am terrified of violence. I hate it. And I've been involved in it a couple of times, when I was a young man. And
you never used, so I would.
A gun? No.
No. I didn't see you as a Second Amendment guy, but you never used it as a deflection. I would always sometimes I played basketball a lot growing up. And I remember I had glasses. I got LASIK. But I was thinking about this. I was like, oh yeah, I would also use comedy as a way to get out of.
Sure. It doesn't always work though. That's the problem.
I remember it would work though a couple times with me. Like it would be these like guys would go up for a rebound and use their elbows. And I had these big glasses. I go, whoa, easy on the moneymaker.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And
they'd kind of start laughing.
Self-deprecation.
Yeah.
No, that's a good trick I've seen people use in Hollywood as well.
Yeah.
Is that false beta move?
Yeah.
When you get some studio executive and you go, yeah. It's kind of like it's an interesting game of chess with dealing, especially around like obvious self-unaware alphas.
Correct.
That's kind of fun to play that game.
Yeah, and I didn't realize at the time it's also, us as comics, we're very good at dialing in and assessing what are we really doing here? What's actually going on? And so that I think I didn't realize at the time these were little things that I was doing from a young become
Do you see it? Do you see it with your kids? I mean, because definitely a moment in my life that changed kind of everything. There's been a couple of them, but becoming a father is like, it's a real kind of satori. It's a real kind of like, everything changes.
How old are your kids?
I have a 24-year-old and a 14-year-old. So Scottish people, we're kind of like, the big orchids in the jungle. They just every 10 years and everything gets pregnant. That's how Scottish people mate. That's how it's done. So every 10 years, it doesn't matter who you are. And if you're sitting there,
sure.
Boof, you're pregnant.
Like an eclipse, kind of.
Yeah, exactly so, right? Yeah. You can tell it's coming and you can get out the way.
Right.
But yeah,
so 2037, we should expect something again.
Yeah, I think that's when it's going to happen again. Okay. I don't know if there's anything left. I think now at this point it would just be like nothing will happen. Maybe the table gets, has a period, but that's it.
Sure. Yeah.
So, but having the kids was something that I think all of the way that I looked at it, especially as they got a little older, right about when your kids are actually, when they start kind of becoming much more themselves.
Yeah.
There's not just this little slug you have to kind of wipe and move and wipe and move.
Right,
it's there's more stuff going on.
Wiping butts and feeding.
Yeah, my God.
Yeah.
How many shoes have you tied so far this year? It's like, my God. These fucking idiots can't tie their shoes. Yeah. I suppose kids nowadays have loafers.
But I'm also shocked. It's also crazy how winded I get tying the shoes, where I'm like, I'm like, why am I panting?
Yeah,
tying a pair of Converse All-Stars.
Well, I mean,
I shouldn't feel like I'm.
That's a deep cut, though. Putting Converse on a child, that's a lot. Are you talking about on you or on the child?
Both.
Yeah, because I always like, here's my fitness test is this: if I don't get out of breath tying my shoes, I'm good.
Oh, you're good.
I don't need a cholesterol check.
Well, I don't need to check my BMI.
Yeah. If I can cut my own toenails, we're all right. Everything's fine. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the cool thing about kids, and I think Mulaney was talking about this. But I loved the way he articulated this. Was when he was holding his first. He goes, "Oh, there you are. Like I've been looking for you," and I got that feeling with them of like, oh, I didn't have to do all these other things for attention and love and purpose and all that stuff. Oh, there, it's here.
There is an amount of service now involved in your life that you didn't have before.
Yeah,
that's what I feel like. Something really changes, and I think that the idea, I used to like, and like every young man, I was like, I'm not going to have kids. And then I had kids. I was like, I can't believe I waited so long to have kids. It seems strange to me, but I
have a lot of friends that don't have children, and I respect everybody's choice, but one thing that was really powerful for me as a performer was I remember holding my daughter and thinking about all the times I had felt as a child being abandoned, even as an adult. I called so-and-so, they didn't call back. I reached out for so-and-so, they never texted back. And that pain you sometimes feel of like, oh man, I needed you there and you didn't really, or you were in a different place, and that extending of an olive branch and when you don't get it back. And guys, we hide it really well. But I remember holding her and my son when he was born and being like, I can be the person that texts you back. Like, I'll be that for you.
Yeah. That's interesting.
And that's kind of beautiful.
Yeah.
Of like,
did you experience a lot of that when you were a kid? Did you feel abandoned when you were little?
As immigrants, we're in transit. So, we come, my mom's doing a residency. So there was a lot of stuff that was in transit.
That's right. Your mom went back to India for a while, right?
New York, and then she was doing a residency in Stockton, and then, she came to Davis, and then so there was a lot of stuff that was in, the immigrant story is almost like a mini house renovation of like, you're never fully unpacked. And is the kitchen done? Is it?
That's kind of, my kids have been through that as well. I mean, we've had like half a dozen houses in the last 10 years.
Yeah, so you're just kind of,
it becomes kind of a habit.
Yeah.
My wife got mad at me about it. She's like, we're not moving again.
Yeah.
Because we moved around a lot. And I think it does, because she's not an immigrant, but she's the grandchild of an immigrant. And so there is that kind of understanding of it. Yeah, it's an odd thing.
So that, I think maybe that was my joy is like, you can count on me. And I don't know, I can't do the balance sheet. I don't have the Excel spreadsheet for the rest of the world.
Right.
But I can be that for you. Maybe that's enough.
I think that's, I think it is. I mean, it's interesting that because I made a decision, you know Jim Gaffigan, right?
Of course, yeah.
Right. So I was talking to Jim years ago, and I was talking to him about comedic style, and he was talking about
Jim works clean. I mean,
Of course, yeah.
like famously so. And he cusses like a normal human when he's off stage, but
Yeah,
he works clean and he makes it, a family friendly show. And I was like, I'm intrigued by that. And he said, I did it at first to see if I could do it. And then it became a stylistic choice. I liked it. I kind of like doing it that way. And he does it. And he's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I had that conversation with him, I thought, so I was doing late night at the time, and late night, because you're working every day, politics was every day.
Right.
Politics is the thing, every day there's going to be something you can talk about. So you talk about it.
Yeah, sure.
But it was just at the time, just as I was getting out of late night, it started to go on fire. I mean, it really became polarized, and then people really got upset about.
Yeah, this was like war in Iraq, war in Afghanistan, all that. War on terror, all of it.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. So as I'm coming out of it, I said, well, in stand-up now, this is around about 2016, I was like, I'm not going to do any more politics, ever. I'm never going to talk about it. And I don't, and I still don't. And what's interesting, because I know that you don't shy away from that at all. You're happy to run right at it.
Totally, yeah.
It's interesting to me because I wonder how it feels. Because I used to get hit with this when I was doing late night. If I did an anti-Republican joke, I'd have to find an anti-Democrat joke to balance it out. Like Standards and Practice would say to me,
"Oh, wow.
You have to balance this."
Got it.
And so it became a thing. I don't think that happens anymore. I don't think they would say to you, you have to do that.
No.
Do you feel like is it something that helps or hinders or just unavoidable because you're a political animal and you
Yeah, for me it's almost like what I love about the form is if you have friends that journal, it's the same thing. Why they encourage long form writing is sometimes I'll write to myself what is actually happening in my head, and it helps me figure out what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just keep writing until that to me is the point of the bit.
Right.
Is to actually, what the fuck do I actually believe? And whether the position is contrarian or not, just what do you actually think? Or it's, this is another style of joke you can do, which is, oh, this is the way it is. What if they did it like this?
Right.
Can you imagine if they did it this way?
Right.
And it's just, now you're painting a picture in a new way. So to me, that's the whole thing of how can I misdirect and how can I solve this? They're little puzzles to me. How do I solve this little puzzle?
But what I think is quite interesting about it is that right now is if you do if one reads the room, it's like, there's, say I went into a room and it was a bunch of Glasgow Rangers supporters and a bunch of Glasgow Celtic supporters.
Great.
I'd be like, I'm probably not going to talk about soccer today, and I feel a little bit like that.
But you don't get excited at the prospect of going, let me see
how much I can get away with.
Let me see.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of like, I'm not sure that my line is maybe it's far off your line.
Sure.
I'm like, you know what? Hey, what about those the wheels on cars or something? It's like,
sure.
I feel like, not that I've done many wheel things, but
you got 20 minutes on wheels.
Yeah. I wish I did. Yeah. The idea, I think, for me is I just became more personal. I became more anecdotal. I became more, I kind of went that way.
Yeah.
And I actually liked it. I found that look, I have reserves of pain and sadness and upset that I feel like I'm the Saudi Arabia of unhappiness. Do you know what I mean? I have so much fucking. Oh God! I have reserves.
The oil reserve.
Normal people don't understand just how much I have.
You have an Aramco level of sadness.
Right? Exactly. I can keep going and keep going and never run out.
Never run out. Liquid gold of sadness.
And I think that I wonder if it. Do you think it affects your? Yeah, I mean, it's bound to affect how you appear in the world. Does it bother you?
No, man. Really what I've come to terms with, and the reason why I love working on a new hour and putting out a special is almost like Wimbledon or tennis. It's like, let me just control the parameters of the game.
Okay.
And I'm sure you maybe have this with your kids, which is there's social media and then there's this and there's
Yeah, you got to.
So now you're playing decentralized warfare.
Right. Right.
So wait. So we're in a ditch. We're fighting fucking pre-World War I style, and then now we're also doing drone warfare.
Right.
It's like I want to pick the parameters, and so what I love about the stage is there's a very, to the best of my ability, we've set the stage, we've set the parameters of what this is,
Right.
and I like that. And I hope I can keep it that way. And I'm sure you had this with film. Film is a different medium.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
You can be a piece of shit. You can be shittier. You can be an archetype of a character. Stand up, it's a different thing. They think they're seeing Craig and they're seeing the inner workings of Craig. And so I love just
Are you
medium
doing
for
that
what it
when
is.
you're doing a stand up? Is that Hasan, or is that stage Hasan is different from real Hasan?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
And that's what I love. I mean, the whole form is joking, not joking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm joking, not joking.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, it's like,
but let me just say this. This is the problem, is that I think Americans, and this is why when people talk about, they have a very difficult time understanding paradox. Indians, we understand the world as paradox. If you go to India, I mean, it's literally the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once. People, you go to a street in Delhi, someone's being born.
My favorite movie of recent time. Have you seen RRR?
Of course,
that is
incredible.
The greatest.
It's an incredible movie.
Unfucking believable movie.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have brought it up, but I'm see, when I watched that movie, I was like, man, it is much harder to be a movie star in India than it is in fucking America. These guys are dancing and singing and fucking and doing things and acting and being really good and handsome and shit. I'm like, fuck me.
Yeah, you have to you have to be everything. You have to be a superhero.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable what these guys are doing.
Yeah. And so what's interesting though is that even like life in India, it has so many multitudes and there's so much chaos that you understand that there are things that are paradoxical. America is very much about, well, we have to solve a paradox, and so you can't solve a paradox. You have to just embrace it. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do. I feel that what's quite interesting about it as well is that, and you make an interesting observation about Americans as an American.
Yes.
And I do that too. I'll sometimes say about Americans, like, well, I'm a fucking American.
Yeah.
And, Donald Trump is an American and Hasan Minhaj is an American.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like here, it's much harder to figure out who you're going to upset next. Or it used to be. I think the truth is you're pretty much going to upset everybody at some point. The trick is to not do them all at the same time. I
don't set off all the landmines.
It is kind of an interesting thing because when I made a decision not to do politics, it was my friends who were on the left assumed I had moved to the right.
Oh, interesting.
And my friends who are on the right assumed I was on the right and just wasn't talking about it.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting. It was like, why? But I'm not talking about it. So they make a decision about it.
But is it also like the older I get too, which is, I'm not here to also just talk about the day-to-day cartoon characters that take up the headlines.
Right.
And you know this with the late night show. Every day those characters change. Take out Dick Cheney, put in Stephen Miller. These are just characters.
I have to say though, one of the greatest days in the history
when he got shot in the face.
Joke writing. When Dick Cheney's lawyer got shot in the face, nobody died, everybody's happy.
It was like, great joke day.
Oh my God. It's like you hardly had to go to work that day. But
and duck hunting is very funny.
Duck hunting. It's got the K sound. It's like everything. You got funny. Dick Cheney in a hat. Everything would have been. It should be that way every day.
Yes,
but it's not, of course. And that would be like Christmas every day.
But almost like an eclipse. Like when a couple days ago when Elon and Trump were. Oh, it was great.
Yeah,
the girls were fighting.
Yeah,
what a fun day that was.
Do you know what? It was interesting. I remember when they got together, I was like, "This has all the success of Brangelina written all over it." And I feel like I was right.
And something, and then in that case, you just kind of sit back and let
it happen,
let it stew.
Yeah, let it happen,
and then let it kind of let the rice cooker explode.
Yeah,
and that's fun too.
True.
But the older I've gotten is also. I recognize there's a demand from the audience to go help me put this in perspective. And I'm sure they were asking that.
I
of
don't
you.
think anybody comes to me for perspective.
Really?
No, I think that I
Okay.
think I'm just like, a sad clown in the corner. I don't think anyone's going, well, what does Craig think? Nobody's thinking what does
I think
Craig
people
think.
like you look for your wisdom and your wit. But the older I've gotten, I've also realized is like there's such rich stuff to mine from just life itself.
Yeah, for sure.
And those subjects can be,
and the aging process
really,
comes at you in a very odd way. Yeah,
yeah.
It's very strange for everybody. It's different for everybody and all that, but it's the same for everybody.
Yeah,
it's kind of perfect for that too.
Yeah, and then you can kind of slide and vacillate into other random stuff.
Yeah,
that's fun.
One of the things I thought about the comedy, about the politics thing was that if I do politics, people are going to stop hearing me.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop getting jokes to people because they're only going to hear the one that made them angry, and then they stop listening.
Sure.
And then it took me back to that what Peter Lasalle said to me in Late Night, which was, "Is the joke worth it?
Yeah.
Is it? And sometimes it is."
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not. And that's really what I think. Talk to me about your podcast. What are you doing in your podcast?
Oh, man. So the podcast is called Hasan Minhaj Doesn't Know. But when my Netflix show stopped, all these people that I would end up interviewing would still call.
Right.
I want to do hey, I want you to interview me. I want you to... So I'd get like governors or, members of Senate being like, let's talk. Can we talk about this?
Right.
So I thought this is very unique where it's very strange to be DM'd by like the Secretary of the Treasury.
Depends on who you are. Yeah.
It's a very weird thing for a comedian to be like DM'd.
No, I agree.
Hi, I'm on their social team. Do you want? So I was like, what do I do with this? Can you get on the phone? Let's chat. And so I said, all right, let me just have the conversation where I can I'm basically a stand-in for the public.
Right.
Where I just get to ask
the questions.
Yeah, hey, this is how I think I feel about this. I clearly don't know everything there is to know about the subject, but look, let me just be a stand-in for the public and just kind of ask you how we feel.
It's an interesting thing. It's very rare for me. You've done a lot more of this than I have, but whenever I've interviewed politicians, I find myself getting a little frustrated.
Yeah. Sure.
I feel like because at part of their media training, which right there, that kind of bristles with me. But part of their media training is they're always told to stay on message.
Sure. Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't want your fucking message. Totally. I want you.
Yeah, and I go, so that's a great talking point.
Yeah.
Can you answer the question though?
Yeah.
Right. I love that. And you sound like a human CAPTCHA. But can you tell me why this makes no sense?
Yeah.
And it's those little moments of just like popping the bubble, which is, hey, I know that you do a million Zoom calls where you can kind of have these haikus of nothing.
Right.
But I literally don't know what you said.
Yeah.
You spoke for
that's
3 minutes, and none of it made sense.
See, and it's funny. I think it's great that you've got you can do that, because what happens is I start kind of going, I forget where I am, and then I just fuck it, fine. And I always try and cut to a commercial break, but of course there isn't one because it's podcasting.
Right.
But it's but I've never had a politician on here. I don't think I would. I don't need
to.
Yeah,
do what you want, man.
Yeah, I think that's
do what you want.
I think that's it, right? And I think the thing is as well is like,
where are you at? Where are you at? What do you want to do?
Yeah,
you can literally do anything. We're in Kid Super's tent. We could you could literally do anything you want, Greg.
I like Combe Delane's vibe. I like Kid Super. I like it out here.
Right.
I like this. I like, because there was do you know a guy called Peter Guber?
No.
Peter Guber is he's a big guy in Hollywood, a big successful producer. He's done other things. He's a very successful guy. He owns some giant hockey team, and he's like a billionaire and all that.
Yeah.
But Guber, I kind of ran into him when I was in Hollywood, and we used to have lunch every now and again. And when I was leaving Late Night, I was like, I don't know what to fucking do now. And so I had lunch with Peter, and he said, he's an older guy, and he said, what you have to do is you have to be around young people who have energy and are doing things. I said, oh, okay, isn't that a little weird? And he was like, no. He said, have them around you. He said, and listen to what they're saying. Don't do any of it, but listen to it. And you will feel enthused by that. And he's kind of right. And I feel like this place, and I like being around the energy of that, and people who are trying new stuff.
Yeah.
So what do I want to do? I don't know.
That's awesome.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like this. I like this. I like talking to you. I like talking to people that I'm interested in talking to.
Yeah. That's great.
If I can find a politician that I'm interested in talking to, I'll talk to them.
You probably don't need to.
I don't.
I'll be honest with you.
It's fucking hard for me to find one that I can stomach.
Beyond the talking points.
Yeah,
it's a very difficult thing.
It's really interesting.
For me, the joy that I get out of it is, again, it's the same feeling I get from stand-up. Let me just say what I feel when I read about you in the New York Times.
Yeah.
Let me just say it.
Yeah.
So we had this general on, General McChrystal, who was like a big general during the war in Iraq and Afghanistan. Okay.
Right.
So one of my favorite moments from the interview is I go, Mr. General, are you familiar with The Onion? It's just a great sentence. This is a great sentence to say to like one of the head of the U.S. Army. You familiar with theonion.com? Theonion.com. Satirical.
Yeah.
He goes, yes. I go, I showed him an Onion headline article, and it says, U.S. Army continues to defeat Al-Qaeda by killing every single number 2 in charge. Fucking great headline. General McChrystal goes, the sad part is we only killed number 3.
Oh my God.
And it's just, you know what? It's just fucking incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just amazing. I mean, I was like, set up, punchline.
Yeah. It's pretty great.
It's pretty great.
It's pretty great. It's pretty great. It writes itself.
So 20 years of a meaningless war to get the,
yeah.
He didn't know that, he didn't get it.
He didn't get the joke.
He didn't get the joke. But to me, it's just, hey, if that's all I do, I said my piece. I said how I really feel about it.
Yeah.
How many people feel about it.
Yeah.
Cool. And by the way, that's okay. Like I'm at peace with that.
I think it's great.
I'm very happy with it.
Yeah, I think you should be. I'm happy you were here. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
Yeah, man.
Thanks, bud.
Yeah, bud.